Alright guys, welcome to the vlog. My name is MisterET, and as you can see today, we have a big one. So today we're going to unbox the QuickJack that I was able to purchase recently at Costco. Normally these things in Canadian dollars are right now between $1,300 and $1,350, and I was actually able to purchase this for $899. So the packaging, as you can see, is not perfect. There was a little bit of a tear here, so that's, I'm guessing, why it was a bit cheaper. But I've actually opened this box here. This is actually completely empty, and I'll show you what was inside it. And I believe everything pretty much is there, so I kind of feel like I got this for a steal of a price. So let's just have a look at what's included here. So in this box, I've actually laid out everything that was in there. So power unit here, blocks, we've got a couple different kinds. Long hoses, short hoses, there's a couple of each. And then there was this box of fittings. I actually went ahead and purchased some oil so I can throw that into the reservoir here. That does not come with the kit, and you will need something like that, so look it up online. I went ahead and bought what it was asking for, so some automatic transmission fluid. So without further ado, let's open the other boxes. What I seem to be missing looking at videos online that are usually part of this box is those metal frames that you use to position the QuickJacks under the car. So I'm hoping those are in these larger boxes here. If not, that may explain why the QuickJack was a bit cheaper where I ended up purchasing it. But realistically, even if I don't have those pieces, they're not needed to make any of this work. I'll be able to position that with a pair of gloves on, and if I'm saving $400 for not having those, I'm perfectly fine with that. So let's open the boxes. So just grab a pair of trusty cutters and just cut away at these things. So now that the boxes are open, we can actually have a look at the content. So with the boxes open, we can see that these things are pretty much brand new. I don't see anything issue or anything like that. We've got our trusty instruction manual, and what do you know? We actually have the two pieces that are usually in the other box. Those are in here, so we're actually not missing a single thing to get this done. So we'll just set those aside. We'll actually remove these mechanisms from their boxes, and then we'll have a look at what needs to be assembled. Okay, so we've got these on the table. Don't mind the crap that's everywhere here. So these are actually pretty freaking heavy, so just make sure when you're removing them from their boxes that you are careful. So I've looked at a few videos online, and from what I understand, we're going to need to install some fittings on these pieces here on both sides. So there's one on this side here and one on this side here that's going to need to be installed. So what it actually calls for in the instruction is to use one of the blocks to actually lift this piece up a little bit so you have better access for installing the fitting just right over here. Okay, so let's have a look at what that looks like. So as you can see, we've actually gone ahead, used a couple of these blocks. So this one's all the way down, this one is actually a little bit higher. I've actually set this here so I have access to the cylinder. So I'm just going to fast forward and install these valves. So when you're installing these fittings on, one of the things I like to do to make it simpler on myself is, this is actually an 11/16. I've actually got this in the vise, and you need a 22 millimeter. So I just throw this in here, move this out of the way, and then basically this makes it a lot easier. And there we go. So the first part of getting this thing actually assembled is actually getting all your air hoses with the proper fittings on there. The instructions are well laid out. There's a video from QuickJack that I'm actually going to link above here if you're not sure and you would rather just watch a video of it. So I didn't actually decide to film that part because I thought it would bore you guys. So now that we've got everything connected, so we've got all the hoses connected, we've actually flipped up the two QuickJacks to bleed the cylinders on each side. Everything is connected to the power unit. The power unit is full. We're just going to release the bleed screw a little bit here. We're actually going to try and raise it to the first locking position to see if it actually works. So I think we're actually in the locked position. So they do seem to be working. The next step for us will be to actually bring in the car and try these bad boys out. So now that everything's installed, here's the amount of effort that's needed to actually raise this car. And I've actually put a jack right here next to the wheel, just so you can actually see the height. This is at the highest setting of my jack stand, and the jack that I use does not allow me, because it's a low profile one, it doesn't allow me to go even as high as this. And you'll see the QuickJack actually goes probably a good 4 to 5 inches higher than this. Now I'm using the higher blocks because my car even lowered permits that. I probably couldn't stack the big block and the small block on top of each other, but this one is actually a good compromise. So let's lift the car. First lock pin. And then the second one. And then we lower a little bit so it locks down. Release the pressure. And we are now all the way up. Let's have a look at this jack here. So, this is the highest setting on this thing. And as you can see, there is a substantial difference. And look at all this beautiful space. Look how high the wheel wells and everything, so you have access to pretty much everything you need to have access to. So there we go. Fully installed, ready to go. So just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like under the car, I've actually put the GoPro on my head and we'll actually have a look under the car. So let's hop onto the creeper. So hopefully you can see the amount of room that we have under here. So these are my hands here. So as you can see, there's a bit of room between my chest and the oil pan here. So there's a bit of room to work. It's not huge, but it's much better than using jack stands. It also helped me see something, so because my car is lowered, I actually figured out I was getting a little bit of a vibration recently, and I figured out that this part here was actually bent in, and the gas tank was actually touching this, so I was getting a vibration around 3 grand when I was revving. So as you can see, underneath of the car is still pretty clean for 2015, but the front of the car here, you're starting to see some rust spots on the bolts and things like that, because I am in Canada and we do use salt. Probably will change out this oil pan at some point. I'm always afraid that when there's something on the road that at some point this will actually hit. But as you can see, there's absolutely no marks or anything on this, so I think the lowest part is actually all the way back there. So this is actually what ends up hitting when my car touches something. So what are my first impressions? So first off, it's fairly easy to assemble. Even while filming this, it took me about 2.5 hours to put everything together. So that's fairly easy. I mean, everybody can do this with basic hand tools. You don't need anything special to assemble a kit like this. It moves around easy. Each of these ramps is a bit heavy, but I would feel comfortable moving them around by myself without any issue, throwing them into the back of a minivan, a pickup truck, or something like that. So it is something that you can move around, that you can take with you to the track, to events, to buddies' houses when they're having issues with their cars. So that is pretty good. As you can see, my garage isn't very wide. So having something like this, instead of having columns on each side that are there permanently, is also really good for me. Now, I plan to, at some point, do engine swaps and do some fairly hefty mechanical work to cars. Will I be able to do that with this? I think I'm going to have some issues with engine swaps, especially if I have to drop the engine down low. This isn't quite high enough for that. But as you could see in the GoPro clip a little bit earlier, there is a little bit of room between your head, your hands, your torso, and the actual body parts on the car. So that's pretty good. For the price, I mean, it's difficult to beat. Yes, you can get a jack, you can get some jack stands for probably, you know, a quarter of the price of something like this, but it's easy to use. It takes quite a bit less time. On a car like this, where it's difficult to jack up the car, that's actually the only car I've ever had where I have that type of an issue. Having something like this is really nice. So overall, am I happy? Yes. Am I worried that this will at some point potentially rust? Absolutely. I've already had these ramps for just about a week or so here, and I can see water pooling into the bases of where you put the plates. And that's actually showing up already in kind of a reddish color. Do I see rust forming? Absolutely not. But do I see rust forming over time? That is a possibility. So what I will end up probably doing is trying to keep these ramps off the ground as much as I can. So I'm going to try and hang them up on the wall, and I'll probably show that in an upcoming video. So overall, am I pretty happy? Good price, good product, good craftsmanship. Did it come as advertised? Did it do what it's supposed to do? Absolutely. Is it as high as I'd like it to be? Probably not. But, you know, for the price, for what you get, for the portability, it's a pretty good product. So I hope you enjoyed this video. My name, again, is MisterET. I will keep making videos on how-tos, on installs. I plan on having a pretty nice project car coming in the next few weeks here, and we'll start doing more mechanical work on that. And I hope you enjoy this content. If you have any questions around anything you've seen today, please do not hesitate to comment, leave a like, please do subscribe, I appreciate it, and I will see you again in our next video.